As Dave Ramsey caused an internet explosion, especially on YouTube, of financial advisors talking about his rant about he was against the 4% rule, vehemently against it, saying that is ridiculous. Stock markets return 10 or 12%. He was using 12%. He says you can easily take out 8%, and that's accounting for 4% of inflation. He went on and on about how it's so stupid to only take out 4% when you can take out 8, 10, and 12%. Well, see, people came back and started talking about the sequence of return risk. And what I want to do in this video is show you just how that would have worked in the last 100 years using data from the S&P 500. So let's just take somebody who takes out 3,500. That would be 42,000 a year. In fact, let's go way up. Let's forget about the 4.2% because he said you can easily take 8%. And let's see. Let's say you take out 7,000 a month. If you have $1 million, that'd be $84,000 a year, which would be 8.4%. What I want to do is run the numbers for every single year, and I want you to watch over here because this is gonna update for every single year. If somebody would have done this in the last 100 years, in fact, I want to go a little bit higher because he actually said you could take out 10 or 12%. Let's go with 8.25, which would be $99,000 a year, which would be just about 10% of that $1 million, which is what he was talking about. So let's see what happens if somebody takes out $10,000 or $8,250 a month, where they would be if they don't take into account the market going up and down. He was just looking at the average 10, 12% return. I want you to notice something. All these reds, these individuals would have been run out of money given this scenario of taking out $99,000, which is basically 10% of that million. Beginning in 1923, they would have been okay after 20 years right here. But I want you to look at 1925. 1925, you see the red down here? They're starting to run out of money. In fact, this whole stretch right here, because you ran into this buzzsaw right here, you've got to take into account the sequence of return risk. What happens those initial years when you first start withdrawing, especially if you look at 1929. 1929, you're out of money so fast it'll make your head spin. But what I want to do, I ran this for every single year, which would be actually 81 years because there's a 20-year stretch in there. For the last 100 years, it'd be 81 times you had a 20-year stretch. And I want you to notice something. 26 of those times, of the last 81 times you have a 20-year period, you would have ran out of money 36.11% of the time. In other words, this is the all these reds, and I want to show you in the graph form too. These are the times you would have run out of money. Here's 0. You would have run out of money in 1925. And all these years, and these years, that's what you would have done, running out of money, if you didn't take into account the sequence of return risk that Dave Ramsey seems to be neglecting. And so that's why people got so outspoken about, no, that's not true. You can ruin somebody's financial future, their retiree future, if you run into a down time. I want to update this one more time. And I want you to look at, let's see here. Be very uneven. It may average out at 10 or 12%, but if you start in the wrong year, you're gonna run out of money, like in these cases right here, all these years. And if I go down through here and see some more reds all the way through here, these are all years that somebody would have run out of money if they had this scenario taking out 10% a year. Now, what he also said to take out 8% a year. So let's take out 81,000 here, and let's give yourself a COLA of 4% to keep up with inflation, because he did talk about 4% inflation. So he said 12%, you get a 12% return, and you give a 4% inflation. So that's 81,000 right here. Where would you be then? Again, let's see how many times you'd run out of money. Look at this, 35 times, 48.61% of the time you would have run out of money given this recommendation by Dave Ramsey over the last 100 years, given this scenario of withdrawing 8% and giving yourself a 4% COLA, you would have run out of money almost half the time. Sure, if you caught some of these good years, you'd have all kinds of money. Look at this. 1942, if you started doing it, you'd have $10 million after 20 years. But you can't count on that 12% average return You've got to look at what's happening in those initial years. That's called the sequence of return risk that people have to plan for. If you start out with these kind of down years, you're going to run out of money. So, what do the people recommend? They recommend that you put some in a cash reserve account. So, when the market's going down, you can take it from there instead of having to take it out of your stock market because you don't want to sell low. If the market's going down, you don't want to start taking 102,000 out of this amount. So when it does come back, you won't have the benefit of this 53.99%. So on the as far as what the financial advisors versus Dave Ramsey, I'm going to have to come on the side of the financial advisors. You've got to take into account the sequence of return risk. Hopefully, this shows you just how important it is to not just look at averages. Thanks for watching.